Listen, this is like the kickoff series of the Warrior Woman podcast, formerly known as Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. And so I am so excited to be here. I am so excited to just share this platform with some amazing, amazing, amazing women. And so with this podcast, we talk about all things soul care, right? And so what is that? Soul care is where we're peeling back, where we're peeling back the layers of your emotional trauma, and we work to help heal your emotional wounds. So soul care for me is like surgery, right? And so soul care is like where we actually kind of go in and get to the root and to the crux of what we are dealing with so that we can clean out all the gunk and we can heal it and seal it so that it can repair and we're not likely to pass down these things. Whereas self-care is more like the after surgery maintenance plan. It's all the things that we put in place to either be proactive to prevent further injury or to make sure that we are doing everything to be proactive to make sure the injury isn't worse. And so this is why I get into soul care, because I know it's a lot deeper when we get to why are we dealing with rejection? Why are we dealing with abandonment? Why are we showing up? Why am I so easily offended? Why am I taking offense to everything that everybody has to say? And why am I not doing the things that I said that I would like to do? I'm procrastinating, or I'm people pleasing, or I'm always putting myself on the back burner. And so this podcast is designed to just expose what that healing journey looks like and the benefits of actually going through a soul care journey or a healing process, if you will. And so it's one thing to always hear it from me and to hear my story time and time again, but it's another when you're hearing it from someone else who's gone through some of the same or similar things. I call them the valley moments. And so today we have Dr. LaToya Wiggins, who is going to join us. Now, you've already met her if you've watched the Soul Care Success Series, and she was on our panel, Who Am I Outside of a Mom and a Wife? Right. And we talked about who we are as a woman outside of what we do for other people, outside of titles that we're given, credentials that we've achieved, status that we can, that qualifies us for certain things. And so she brought down the house. And so today we are going to have a conversation with her and just talk about what her journey has been like for her. So I just want to share a little bit of information about who she is with you guys. And so Dr. LaToya is the CEO of She Is Nourished, LLC. She is a wellness coach, a self-care strategist for Christian moms, and transformational speaker. She transitions moms with multiple children from worn out to winning so they no longer feel depleted, but develop the necessary healthy habits to be nourished, renewed, and rejuvenated with biblical principles that bring peace instead of self-pity. Dr. Wiggins received her doctorate of physical therapy from Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia in 2011. In 2018, she received her certification in health and life coaching from the Health Coach Institute. She is a wife, a mother of 3 sons, a physical therapist, and a lover of all things health and wellness. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the stage, sis. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back on the Warrior Womanhood.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, this is so exciting. Listen, I cannot wait to kick this conversation off. I'm gonna do this one thing. I'm gonna add this little screen so we can be all fancy up here on this screen, right? And so for those who are tuning in, just a note that this is both an audio and a video podcast. And so you will be able to see the video live on Facebook, but it is also available on YouTube and then on audio platforms such as Anchor, Amazon Podcast, and Apple Podcast as well. Super excited to be branching out into all these realms of where this will be streaming. So super excited to have you here. And so on today, ma'am, we are going to be talking about soul care a little bit more. A little bit
Let's get
more.
to it.
Listen, why don't we start off? Why don't you tell the people? I told them your bio, but it's a different thing when you tell them who you are. So why don't you tell the people who you are and a little bit about what it is that you do and why it matters to you?
Why it matters. Yeah. So again, I am Dr. LaToya, and you can feel free to call me LaToya because I just want to be your assistant in Christ. So I am a woman of God. I am a boy mom. So shout out to all the boy moms out there.
I have
My
three.
boys. Yes, and they are all different. They range from different ages. I'm about to have a 13-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So welcome to the terrible twos very soon. If it's not already terrible. Yes, I do love health and wellness. I love helping people to be healthy. I love seeing people happy. So that's why I like being the self-care strategist because I'm helping you to be healthy and happy. If you're unhealthy, a whole lot of different things, bad things are going to start to happen and it affects your happiness. If you're not happy, same thing applies. If you're not happy, that consistent stress is going to cause health problems. So I just love seeing that transformation of people being healthy and happy, getting healthy and happier, taking those steps. I love it. I love just making an impact on people when sometimes I feel like I'm not really doing anything. And then somebody will pop up and like, I'm so glad you talked about this, that, and the third, or thank you for saying XYZ. It really helped me. And now I'm starting to do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my gosh, like it brings me so much joy to hear things like that because I truly just want to see people healthy and happy.
Yeah, no,
And
I'm
moms especially. That's why I work specifically with moms for the most part, because moms, I know we deal with a lot.
we do. And here's the thing too, with just motherhood in general. And this convicted me maybe about 2 years ago, where yeah, about 2 years ago, where I was having a moment with God and I was in my feelings. And one of the things that he convicted me of, he said, and it was a hard truth. It was a hard truth. He said, you want to blame their father for not being an active part of their life. And so you have convinced yourself that part of the reason why your kids are showing up the way that they're showing up, they're behaving the way that they're behaving, um, is because their dad is not a part of their life. And he said, there's some truth to that.
Mhm.
There's some truth to that. It's helpful when you have two parents that are in the household that are doing the thing. He
Yeah.
said, but the truth of the matter is that they will operate in kind. And what that meant was, I am human and they are human.
Mhm.
And so when we talk about humankind, it means that we're operating in the kindness and the likeness of other human beings. And
Mm.
so the person that they were around the most was me, was me. And it removed the ability for me to do this. And
Uh-huh.
because your dad, and because so and so, and because everybody else. And God was like, if you look at who they are around the most in the home, who would that be?
Right.
And that would be me. That would be me. And so, to your point about moms having a lot on their plate and your desire to see them healthy and whole, it's the legacy piece of
Mm.
what our kids are picking up on
Yeah.
when we're not operating in this space, when we're not implementing things like boundaries, when we're not implementing self care strategies, when we're not implementing the things that we need to do to fill our own cup. And so when we're talking about these things, it's like moms have a great deal of weight and pressure on them, but we don't always unpack what that pressure and that weight looks like. We
Yeah.
talk about all the things that we do, which is why I wanted to have that conversation. I cook dinner, I do laundry, I do help with homework, I do pickups, I do drop offs, I do all these things for everybody else. But I've never said the one thing that I do for me.
Mhm.
And like one of the things that I do for me is I will blast soca and I will dance like I am at a reggae fest, soca carnival, like I am on the island, I am in Trinidad somewhere, I am in Barbados somewhere, and I am just
You are speaking my language.
listen,
I go to a class called Soca Aerobics. That's the
listen.
gym that I go to is called Soca Aerobics, and we actually have soca aerobics classes. Tonight is reggae aerobics. So you talking to the
I
right
need
one
one of
about
them
that soca
here.
now.
I need one of them here, or I need a virtual access pass. So if there's
Oh,
anybody else
I will send
there,
you the link when I get off now because she
please
does
do,
online
because I
classes.
promise you, I will get right. Okay, I will have that summertime snatch with
Oh, if
that
you see
class.
my instructor, oh, you will see. Yeah, she's the real deal.
Oh, amen, amen. And so with all of that, and so see, these are things that are not only just soul care strategies, but self-care strategies.
Yes.
And so we talk a lot about the difference between soul care and self-care. And so the first question that I want to ask you is, what does soul care mean to you, and how would you define soul care?
So soul care for me is that connection with God, living for Him, doing what you need to do to nourish yourself, to go out into the world and just do His work. And a lot of times that does mean doing that deep inner work outside of the physical and the mental piece. So how are you connecting with God? How are you living for Him? So that even goes back to what are we doing? Being responsible for our own mood and behavior, and how we serve others in those different roles, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, and so on. So that soul care piece, even for me, is ultimately doing what you're supposed to be doing to walk in your purpose. And as a woman of God, that means God's purpose for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, and I think that's like a major question that most people are asking is, I just want to know what my purpose is. I just want to
Mhm.
know, what my calling is. I just want to know what God wants me to do. And at its very simplest, or at least this is what I believe, at the very simplest definition of like, what is my purpose? Like God calls us to serve.
Yep.
At its very foundation, he calls us to serve. Now, what you do as
Right.
part of the serving is very specific to your gifts, talents, and abilities, but also your experiences, because
Yeah.
there's going to be things that he calls you to do because he called you through it. You first had to experience it. And so sometimes a lot of people believe that our calling is something outside of what comes natural to us. And
Mhm.
so we believe that that's not our calling because, duh, it comes easy. Like, that
Right.
makes sense. Like, so that clearly can't be it. It has to be something miraculous. And God is like, no, that's it. That's
Right. Stay in your lane.
that's it. That's it. I will qualify you as you elevate, right? And so you look at, like David in the Bible, where he was called and he was anointed king, but his time and his
Mm.
season didn't come, and he didn't get to it without having to go through some trials that developed his character. And he
Right.
still struggled with it even after being anointed king. We
Right.
saw what he did with Bathsheba. Like, we saw the struggles that he had, but it was because of his character and his desire and his obedience to give his yes and amen to Christ. Like, your character will develop in the thing that you're called to do. And so we sometimes think that the simple thing that we can do is like, really? That's it? You want me to like, really? Like, it's not something like, and God is like, yes, but when you do it, I elevate the purpose, but
Yeah.
I can't just bring you right to the mountaintop and your
Mhm.
character's like, "Mm." You got to destroy the sheep that I have for you. You're absolutely
Right.
going to destroy the sheep. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, he be real with it. Like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. That's
That is so
crazy.
true.
And so, like, and then David, like in all his struggles, that he had just sort of getting to, right? Just, and then even when you think about Esther and her, like, I have to go before the king. I'm not being summoned. I could die, just by taking this action, and the
Right.
things that she had to do to sort of propel herself and prepare
Mhm.
herself. There was some things, some conversations that she had to have, not just with Malachi, but there were some conversations that she needed to have within herself. Like,
Right.
oh my God, like you said, do this. You know what I'm saying? I might die. And God is
Mhm.
like, okay, like that's an option. But
Yeah.
if you believe in me, you know that I will see you through.
That's
And
right.
so my next question for you, and we've talked about this a little bit when we did the series, was what has been the biggest challenge, hurdle, or healing step that needed to happen in your healing journey? Like, what did you know for you? It was like, I'm hitting like, this can't be life. Like that was the question that I said, that was the statement that I said to myself. Like, this can't be the rest of my life. This not,
Right.
this how, this how you want me, this it? Just how you got for me? Like, that's it, God? So what was that sort of defining moment for you when you had hit this sort of like, I am front row on the struggle bus and this can't continue.
Oh,
This
that
can't.
struggle bus is real. Yeah, so back in 2021, which was in the middle of the pandemic, we're still kind of in that, but in the still straight isolation, stay away from people, part, I really found myself just waking up every day, dreading the day as soon as my eyes opened. I really woke up and thinking, and it's like, I don't want to keep waking up already dreading the day of taking care of these three kids. One was a newborn. I had my last son in February 2021, and I can't say had, I still have a very, very hyper middle child. The one that was making me think like, do I really want to go for a third one?
We all got that. I feel like we all got that one that's like,
Second child,
wow, your brothers and sisters almost didn't happen after you.
right?
Just woo.
And I got tired of waking up every day dreading the day, and it rubbed off on everybody the wrong way. I was being somebody who I didn't want to be. It's bad enough I already had what they call the rest in B face, which I
Mhm.
what's going on with my camera. There we go. You know, but like when I am actually upset or down, it magnifies 10 times worse. And it's not even just the facial expressions, but you getting the attitude and everything with it also. I'm easily on edge. You could be doing something meaningful, as soon as you hear mommy, what? You're already annoyed, not even knowing what somebody's about to say. Easily irritable. Don't let somebody make a mess or whatever, and then you're really and it's one child after another. It's like, do anybody know how to eat over the table? The food is always on the floor, no matter what age the child is. Stuff is all over the place. Don't forget the husband. The husband, sometimes you look at like you, I feel like you were just as bad as they are. Not with the food part, but just the mess or cleaning up. You feel like you're constantly repeating yourself. Please do this, please do that. And just one day, I mean, sometimes it was actually not just one day, it happened a lot, but I just know it was like one day when I saw an extra mess and I'm going around, just picking up things and tying up, and you're getting mad, irritated while you're doing it. I just blew up, just telling everybody how much they got on my nerves. I can't stand y'all. Nobody wants to help me. I don't know what the baby did wrong, but everybody in this house getting on my nerves is what I said. And then it's like you have that moment of kind of like a release, and then the meltdown comes because it's like, okay, that was not right at all.
Right. That's not how I pictured that happening
Right.
when I thought about how I was gonna say that. My
Right.
bad,
Like
y'all.
all the built up anger just came out at once, and it was like, yeah, that's not how it should have came out at all. So
Right.
I just went to my room all alone and just had my own little pity party, just crying on the bedroom floor, just wondering like, what in the world is wrong with me? Like, this lady is truly crazy. Something's wrong with her. She can't get it right, and just asking God, like, please help me, because I can't do this without you. Like, I don't know what to do. I've been feeling like this for way too long. Several months had went by, and it was other stress that led to one another, one after another. Like after having my son, it was
Mhm.
issues with breastfeeding. So now
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on calls with the lactician, running back and forth to the doctors because my C-section incision was looking a little, okay, I don't think
Right.
this is healing right. I didn't have three of them, so I know how it's supposed to look. And then that, this gets better, but then something else comes up. You're still trying to take care of your kids. You're trying to make sure that they're not feeling neglected while you're having this newborn, especially the middle child. The older child was doing his own thing, don't even really care no more. But the middle child for sure is like, okay, you always got him. I'm trying to be up under you, look still in the bed and everything. I need you up out of my bed. I need my space and all that great stuff, whatever. I'm trying
Right.
to C-section, just all the stress. And then it just like nothing got better mentally. So months and months will go by and I'm just feeling like, yeah, like I'm unhappy. I don't feel like doing anything half the time. When my husband may suggest we try to go somewhere, I don't even want to go nowhere. Like, let's order in
Right.
and put this Netflix on or something. I
Right.
just felt so miserable. And like I said, in that moment, which I even had a couple moments sometimes with God like that, like, please help me. So I tried therapy one time that summer. And then the therapist, her schedule was so inconsistent where it was like, you know what, forget this. I already know what to do. I was practicing self care before I had my last son, Caleb. I can do this. I just need to try a little harder, and that didn't work either. So,
No, it
again,
hardly ever does.
right.
Just try
So then,
harder, please.
yeah, we're just like, okay, I don't even want to do therapy as it is. And then she keep canceling or got keep switching stuff around, forget it. So then a few more months went by and I had that moment with God and it was like, okay, I really got to do something about this. And I remember I was listening to a podcast called Therapy as a Christian and she recommended a company called BetterHelp. And the
Yeah.
way she was describing it, I'm like, okay, that seems pretty cool. You can if anybody hasn't heard about it, you can go right online and pretty much you get the trial of therapist. And if you don't like that one, you can easily switch. So I'm like, okay, this sounds like a good way to get another therapist if I'm not feeling the first one, and
Right.
luckily I did click with that first one. So I did therapy for several months. And at that same time, that fall, I was doing work. I started getting closer to God also. So even like through the same person I was talking about through therapy as a Christian, I started like doing challenges where it was like, time with God challenges. So it's teaching you how to spend time with God and be in the word, how
Right.
to study the word. And I started doing studies with other ladies like on spiritual warfare, get my deliverance and
Yep.
things of that nature. So all of this is going on at the same time. I'm finally strengthening my relationship with God the way I know I needed to, as
Mm-hmm.
well as getting the mental help, that push to do the work. I was exercising, but it was like, I could go a little, a few more days out of the
Right.
week.
Right. 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 Right.
Like that, the soccer aerobics I was telling you. Oh, I love soccer aerobics.
Yes.
Like when you're in that mental space, sometimes it's like you don't really feel like doing nothing. So I wasn't going as often as I should. I was, staying up late snacking or not
Mm-hmm.
getting
Doing
enough
all the
sleep. I
things.
could with the newborn. Sometimes the newborn is the reason you're not getting sleep. And other times it's like, okay, he's asleep. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be
Let me
binge
try to
watching
get some things
Netflix.
done.
And then mad when I finally fall asleep, he's waking up. It's like I'm doing this stuff to me. I'm putting myself in
Right.
these situations, but
So listen, there was a couple of things that you brought up that I want
uh-huh.
to highlight about how we end up showing up before we even get into these roles, right? And so part of the thing is when we haven't dealt with some of the emotional trauma or trauma that we've suffered throughout our life, what
Mm-hmm.
happens is we develop these defense mechanisms or these behaviors as a result
Yeah.
of not having healed from certain things that traumatized us. And we don't always know that these things have impacted us. We think this
Mhm.
is just the way that we show up. This is the way that I behave. Or we say things like, I am who I am,
Yeah.
or it is what it is. And,
Uh-huh.
it's me. So if you don't like it, go do you or whatever. Or I've always been this way.
Uh-huh.
And that anybody in the history of
Mhm.
never worry, like anybody in the history of never worry, has it ever served anybody to be like, well, I've always been this way. And it's like,
Right.
and
Popping off.
you're still where you are right now. Okay. You're still where you are right now. And so one of the two patterns that I heard come up was the sort of passive aggressive and
Yeah.
the angry pattern. And so a couple of things that I promote are the, knowing what the emotional wounds are. And I teach out of 14, but then there are also these behaviors where we are a certain way with ourselves and how
Mhm.
we are with other people. And
Yeah.
so when we haven't established our own voice prior to entering relationships, prior to becoming a parent, prior to all these titles and roles and all of these things, before we've even established that, if we first haven't within ourselves decided this is what I'm going to tolerate, this is what I'm going to go to bat for, this is how I'm going to speak up for myself, I'm going to practice the language of saying the things, then what happens is we operate in the RBF, and everybody think we pissed off or mad at them. You know what I'm saying? We get that
Yeah.
whole like, and my mom had one. Hers was solid though. Hers was like, I'm not even going to ask you a question. And my kids started to treat me the same way. And I was
Mm,
like, oh, well, that's the gene that was passed down.
yeah.
And so it's like, I got to make sure I do things like raise my eyebrows and sound excited. So all this like intentional excitement has become a habitual practice,
Mhm.
because when I'm not like intentionally or consciously staying focused on that, my face can go right to like,
Uh-huh. Real quick.
real quick. And I may not feel that way internally, but
Uh-huh.
that's just how it looks, right?
What's
And so
wrong?
then we
Nothing.
have
I'm
like that
chilling.
Oprah syndrome where it's like, you get the attitude, you get the attitude, you get cussed out, you get cussed out. Everybody gonna get cussed out, because I hadn't dealt with, how do I want to show up? As far as when I'm upset, can I articulate it? And is that okay? And
Yeah.
usually in the Black household, as children, you don't get the space to say how you feel, to say,
Yeah.
I did not like what you did, or to say you hurt my feelings, or that hurt my feelings. Because 9 times out of 10, if we said it, we were probably disciplined or scolded,
Mhm.
or we were told, we knew not to do it at all, and we were just being a difficult child at that point by talking back, or always having something to say, or being sassy, or all these things, right? And it was like, but they're kids, they
Mhm.
are little humans, they're little humans. And when you suppress their voice as children, what happens when they become adults?
Mhm.
They
Same.
suppress their, and so we are those children, especially growing up in the 70s and the 80s, and I don't know about the 60s and the 50s, but I'm sure it was a lot more strict then.
Uh-huh.
And you see it's become more fluid as the decades pass, where kids now have a voice. For the most part, they can
Yeah.
speak up now more. My daughter tell me real quick that I hurt her feelings,
Uh-huh.
like mouth poked out, eye rolling. She do all the teenage things, but then I'll be like, "Oh, so you're not my friend?" And she'll be like, "No, because you hurt my." And then I can, because I've allowed her that space. Now she can
Yeah.
say the things. And so my hope and my prayer is that as you train up a child, that I'm training her to have her moment of her feelings,
Yeah.
but then to be able to address what's bothering her, what's wrong, and not shame her for
Right.
sharing how she feels.
Mhm.
And when we operate in that space, we become these adults who then the only thing we know how to do is get angry and cuss somebody out so that we can experience that emotional release. Like
Yeah.
you were talking about, like once you released it, then you can deal with the emotions of how you felt, because it all just sort of came down, right? Once the energy is expelled from our bodies, now we're left with the feelings, and we still got
Mhm.
to process through that. And it's like, holy crap, I don't want to deal with this. This too
Right.
much. This stupid. I said that to my kids. Adulting is stupid. Like, I
Right.
don't know why we have to do
It's
it.
ghetto.
Right. I don't like it here. Like, I didn't even sign up for this. Like, I
Right.
didn't even put my name on. Wasn't even on a wait list. Like, I don't know why this is happening. And so it's like, but when we get there and we're not equipped to live in the land of adulting, it's like, I didn't know there were rules. I didn't know I was supposed to show up. Like, I was supposed to be mature when I got here. I didn't know that. Is there a manual? There's no manual? No, I gotta figure
Right.
this out. And so it's like, I love one of the things that you said that you did was, um, you started to reroute your identity. And so who you were was no longer predicated on all the things that you were doing as a mother, all the things that you were doing as a wife. It was now becoming predicated on who God said you were.
Yeah.
And it's something about, you ever have, and it doesn't always have to be a parent figure, but when you have that one person that would get you if they saw you cutting out,
Right.
and you like, please, and it's like, please don't tell my mother that I did. She
Uh-huh.
won't. Please don't do that. And it's like when you get your identity rooted in Christ, you like, nah, cause God gonna get me.
Uh-huh.
He gonna get me if I. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to do the thing or you don't want to
Yeah.
react that way, but you recognize that who I'm representing now,
Yeah.
I promise you, you're not gonna have me come out my character like that. I promise you, I'm not, because my
Like,
relationship with
who's
him,
proud of you? It's the
right.
same principle.
And then when people know that you are in Christ and like you're promoting Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
they will try to convict you of it every single
Oh,
time.
oh, real
Oh,
quick.
oh, is that how? Is that how? Oh, is that how Christians act?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how? Oh, I thought you was with Jesus. I don't know
Uh-huh.
how many times I got called out for that. But it's just like, it's like, yeah, but he's not looking for characters. He's looking for real people
Yeah.
who are willing to just grow and be obedient as part of the process, of doing what he's called them to do. So I love that so much. Like just your journey and just the things that you recognize within yourself, like this can't be life. I can't keep showing up angry all the time. You know what I mean? I said I wanted kids and I said I wanted to be married. I got both. And now I'm
Exactly.
acting a plain fool in
Right.
these streets, talking about I love Jesus. And God is like, but do you though? Because that may not be it. Right. And so once we get to sort of this side where now we realize we're doing this healing and we're going through and we're figuring out who we are, and the way God sees us, and we're accepting the way that God sees us in our
Mm-hmm.
heart. So now we can see ourselves the same way. There's usually this sort of reward or this benefit or this feeling like there's a shift in you where
Mm-hmm.
you recognize your worth, where you recognize your value, where you recognize that you need to be here and this is why you need to be here. So I want you to share, if you can, what has been the biggest reward as a part of your healing journey? Like, what has that looked like for you?
Mm-hmm. I would say the biggest reward pretty much is really kind of what you already talked about, just like finding and knowing who I am, outside of just being a mom and a wife. you know, like right now, I put my career on my physical therapy career on hold, and I don't know, that might be on hold forever. I don't know yet. And I'm okay with that part, but who else am I? Like why am I really here? And the question that I finally, or the answer I should say, the answer I have been receiving, from God is, so for example, doctor of physical therapy. Oh, I'm still paying on them loans, baby. But so it's kind of like I put in all this hard work to get this degree, still paying back the money for the degree. And I'll even have other people question, you really want to walk away from that? And the reward for me is knowing that it doesn't matter if I ever do physical therapy again. It was part of my purpose.
That
Like you
part.
said, sometimes you have to go through A, B, and C. God's going to take you on these different levels of fulfilling, his purpose for you. So, like I said, I am still a lover of health and wellness, and I'm still doing health and wellness through self-care coaching, and it even brings me um, a different level of joy. For physical therapy, that means you are already sick, something's already wrong. I'm trying to help you get better. Self care coaching, I am trying to keep you up out of that hospital,
Right. That part.
trying to keep you out of the mental institution. We're going to put this work in to avoid even getting there. You already been there before. That is okay. It's time to move forward.
Right.
And that really brings me joy, like on that preventative part, or pushing you forward in a place, or even being on this platform. I can talk about whatever I want. I can't talk about God in the hospital. I mean, it happens. I'll get me some woman of God, and we doing therapy, and you in there preaching to me, or we, we having a good
Right,
old
right,
conversation.
right. Got the
But
silent
I
ministry
can't.
going on.
I can't be writing that part of my therapy treatment. Patient, recommended doing blah 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 with God. I can't be
Prayer.
doing. But on this platform, I can encompass the health and wellness piece in relation to God,
Mhm.
and I would say that's my biggest reward. Just really knowing, yeah, that's who I am. I'm
Amen.
supposed to serve in this capacity, and God may change it, tweak it, whatever. But just knowing who I am outside of being a mom, a wife, and a physical therapist, that makes me feel happy and like, yeah, I got a purpose.
Yeah.
I got a purpose and I am walking in it.
Yeah, amen. Like we got to celebrate that because
Yeah.
that is huge. That is huge. And so I'm super proud of you and
Thank,
congratulations on stepping
thank
into
you.
the next and the elevation. But you're so right because one of the things that we downplay when we always talk about you got to heal from your past and you got to heal from your trauma, the other piece to it though is that you also need to appreciate some of the things that you actually went through.
Yeah.
Like when I had to accept that when I was molested as a child, that was going to be part of the reason why I talk about owning your voice. Because it
Mhm.
wasn't just the fact that I was molested, it was the way in which I was molested
Mhm.
and how it impacted my voice and
Yeah.
how it impacted how I saw myself and my value to men.
Mm.
I only thought I was important to men because that's when I experienced a man being
Uh-huh.
happy about something I did. And so as I was in my teenage years and my young adulthood, that's what I valued because I
Mm.
believe that's what men valued. And
Yeah.
so before I put my personality, I put my forward.
Mhm.
And that was all I knew. That was all I knew. And the only way I can talk about it now is having accepted that that was part of something that I had to experience because
Mhm.
he's going to use it for my
Yeah.
good.
Right.
And so now I don't have to walk in shame. I don't have to walk in fear. I don't have to walk in, you're going to judge me anyway, sis. So I might as well tell you, like, let me give you what to judge me on because
Exactly.
you're going to do it anyway, you know? And so saying that frees somebody else who may have
Mhm.
experienced, you know, any type of sexual abuse or sexual trauma in a way that helps to propel them to step into and reactivate and reclaim that personal power and that personal, you know, voice that they have that's
Mhm.
so desperately needed. And we don't always think about the acceptance of what has happened to us.
Mhm.
We accept it as this is now us, right?
Yeah.
And then we victimize ourselves. And instead of victimizing ourselves, we take what happened, we do the work to actually heal from the trauma that it did cause, but then we use that for the victory and the glory.
Yes.
And
I
that's
love,
release.
excuse me, I'm didn't mean to cut you off. It
No,
just
you're
makes me
good.
think of what Dr. Cheryl always says, your story is not for you. It's for
Right.
somebody else. And I've seen some things on social media right now, and I've heard some people, I can't remember who said it, but sometimes you ask God, why me? And then sometimes the reality check comes back and it's like, why not me?
Right.
So all the stuff that happened to me, did I want it to happen to me? No. It did happen. But what am I going to do about it? Like you said, it happened, and now how am I going to use this for better? So you heal
Right.
from it, and now you're well equipped to do better things, whether it's just to help somebody else who has been in that same situation, or even put them in a situation. Well, we can't always prevent everything, but kind of like, for example, like you said, like sexual abuse or domestic violence and different things of that nature. Sometimes just sharing your story can tell another woman maybe not what how to protect themselves from certain situations. Even like with your children, you were kind of like, for example, with sexual abuse or whatever. Sometimes we get real strict, like, oh, ain't no sleepovers, ain't this, ain't that, blah blah blah. And
Right.
sometimes it comes from a place of just knowing better. Not saying like you shouldn't always do that, but with certain steps that you may take as a parent now.
Right.
Like, oh no, what you going where? Okay, I need to talk to the parent now. Like, okay, cool.
Boom.
No, I need to talk to the parent. I need to even meet them in person. It's
That
certain things
part.
you even do from your past, or maybe something that you missed out on childhood. Maybe your parents didn't give you some tidbits that you end up experiencing, and now you take them with you now. In motherhood or what other other areas of your life. Like, okay, this happened, and now I know how to try to prevent it from happening again. whether
That
it's for myself or somebody else, you know.
that part. So like so when I was about 6 when I was molested, and I was at my dad's friend's house whose daughter braided hair. And that's why I was there. I was there to get my hair braided and, get the little beads and stuff. And her older brother was home and he was the one who did it.
Mm,
And I went to the bath. She had finished, called my dad. I was going to the bathroom and then I ended up in his bedroom.
mm,
And I won't share the details of the event. But then my daughter, here's where it comes back to what you were saying. My daughter was about the same age. She was about 6 or 7. And there was a lady down the street who braided hair. She had braided my hair plenty of times. And she had a family member who was staying with her, who was on house arrest. And almost about the same age as this young man. He was probably no more than 17, 18 when this happened.
mm-hmm.
And I had made an appointment to get my daughter's hair braided. And I had to work unexpectedly and I couldn't take her.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband was like, "Oh, she'll be good." And I was like, "No."
Right.
But I had to explain to him why.
Yeah.
So I could have stopped her from getting her hair braided, which I needed to have done because I was in the thick of learning how to take care of natural hair because that wasn't my childhood ministry. Okay. I had aunties that laid the hair with the hot
Uh,
comb. I still
let
have a scar on my hand from being burned. Child. Okay, that wasn't my ministry, right? So I knew as an adult, I promise you, I'm not going through, I'm not trying to, no, 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 and no, right? And so I knew for her, I wanted really her to learn about her natural hair and how to take care of it because I never learned it. It stayed in
Mhm.
braid and beads, or I had some little crunchy ponytail, or my aunts pressed it.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I don't want to fuss with all of it, but I want her to learn. So I'm going to have to learn. But that means I'm
Yeah.
going to have to keep it in braids until I really can figure this out.
Mhm.
And I had to explain to him why I was having this anxiety about it. And so
Yeah.
he decided that he was going to go and stay and sit with her for her protection. And
Yeah.
then later I explained to her what happened.
Mhm.
And sometimes as parents, we don't want to tell our kids the truth of our childhood, the truth of
Yeah.
our journey. And my kids know that I got pregnant at 14. My kids know like that I was forced to get an abortion. They
Mhm.
know that they would have had siblings
Mhm.
that preceded them. They
Yeah.
knew how I was growing up, why I was that way. I told them the hard stories that were hard to hear, but it made them love their grandparents even more because they understood and they could offer grace.
Yeah.
Now they get why mom does certain things that she does.
Mhm.
And when I explained that to them, I also implemented the strategies. Like you said, one, I need to know who the parents are. Two, I need an address. Like before they come to me, like, can I sleep over? I need to know their parents. Have I met them? If not, you need to set up a FaceTime call. I need the address so I can Google Maps it and do a crime check to see what happens
Right.
in that part of the
Mhm.
neighborhood if I haven't been to that part. I need to know if I'm dropping you off or if they're picking you up because then I'm going to talk to them for a couple of minutes either way. And then I'm going to do an area check. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna do a little drive by. I need to see. And my daughter has a friend, and I don't know Georgia that well because I've lived in Boston all my life. So I'm still learning parts of Georgia. I don't know what's the hood. I don't know what's not.
Yeah.
And so she was at a friend's house over the summer. And when I went to drop her off, there was a group of guys outside. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm gonna stay. She was there for a birthday party. I was like, I'm staying. You're not getting dropped off. I'm gonna be inside. No problem. And I stayed for the couple of hours. And then she had asked, could she go back over? And then I had to explain to her, because you're not built like this, because you're not from you didn't grow up in the hood. There's a certain mentality that you got to have, and you don't have it. You have a naiveness about you, and they will pick up on that very, very quick. And you're cute, and you're just getting into boys, so you're going to feed into this attention,
Mhm.
whether I've groomed you to or not.
Yeah.
It's how we're wired. And so I'm like, you're not ready for that type of environment yet because you don't know enough about yourself. and what you'll say no to yet. You're still
Yeah.
trying to figure out where your no stands and if people will respect your no.
Mm.
And so because you're not there, you can't go over there by yourself. Not until I've established a relationship with their mom and her
Mhm.
mom is treating you like her own.
Right.
Because until then, no, ma'am, you're somebody else's child and
Mhm.
anything is bound to happen. But when I know she has laid claim to you, like we do as all moms,
Yeah.
because it's like natural. It's like you done been over here so much. You my
Uh-huh.
child. This late. I'll call your mama. I'll let her know you're here. Don't worry about it. You
Right.
know, I'll let her know you're good. When we get to that place, then I know you're good because she's
Mhm.
not now only calling for her child to come in the house, she's looking for you.
Yeah.
And I need to have that level of understanding. And now her mom and I, we have that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, bet. Yeah, she can come over. She can spend the night.
Yeah.
Like I don't have that concern, but you're right. You start implementing things as a result of, learning and being exposed to what needs to happen next. What do I need to implement? And so instead of running away from your trauma, you use it
Mhm.
to leverage for the next generation
Right.
and giving them skills. Because I promise you, when my kids have kids, they're gonna be like, I need to know their mama and their daddy. I need to know where
Mhm.
they live because they've had to
You
do it
already
so
know
much.
that.
The moment
Mhm.
they come to me, I'm like, I don't see any answers to the 5 questions. So don't ask me. It's an automatic no for me. I don't have any of the details that I need. So it's a no for me. And they
Mhm.
already know it. And so because they've been doing this for years, like even if they just want to go, my son wanted to go to a high school basketball game. He's 18. He was like, Mom, the high school's having a basketball game. It's on this day. It's at this time. It costs this much. I'll probably need a ride there and back. He's 18 with a driver's license. You
Well, my
know,
mom, I'm married with children, and don't let my mother call me and you out. Is Sean with you? Well, where you going? I am a grown woman. Why are
right,
you questioning me? My husband don't need to be with me. Yes, it's dark. So what?
right,
We're not going to be back
right.
in the house till probably 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And it never turns off because as soon as your kids, they like in their 30s, you're gonna be like, where are you?
Uh
Okay,
huh.
who are you with? You by yourself? Oh no, that's not gonna work. Have you
Uh
been
huh.
there before? And we start doing the same thing. We
Uh
start
huh.
doing the same thing. So
But
it's
I do
just
that to her now. Where are you? It is 8 o'clock. You're usually in the house by now. I didn't call the cell
right.
phone, house phone. You didn't answer.
You see what I'm saying? I was just about to call the police because you out here
Right.
acting like you grown, like you don't got no children. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? You good and married at home with your own kids, and you out here like, Mom, you don't got that right.
but
Like,
I didn't check in with my brother. He talked to mommy, and now y'all didn't
right.
call me, worried about me. I mean,
I mean, because you're grown, but you're not. So, like,
right.
you got kids. Like, we worried.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like, it's really all about what you pass down and what you can help. And this is why I try to promote generational health. This is a part about it. It's one thing to pass down the money. I get it, the financial legacy. You want to
Uh-huh.
set your family up. But if you can't pass down these things where they can critically think, like, is
Mhm.
this going to be the right way for me to go? Is this the area that I want to be in? Are these the people that I want to connect with?
Mhm.
And do they align with what I align with? Is it my daughter's trying to navigate a friendship now at 13. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to help her see what's important to her may
Yeah.
not be important to the friend. It doesn't make the friend a bad person, but it just means she may not be your best friend,
Mhm.
but she just may be a friend. And that's okay. But you got to be comfortable enough to stand on it. And at 13, you're still trying to figure that out. What's important to you? So we're still navigating, she still has the friendship. We're still navigating it. And when she has issues, we process through it
Mhm.
because when she gets money, she's going to have to do the same thing. Right. And so,
Sure.
I'm big on passing down tools, tips, and techniques. So I will ask you, what is one concept you would want women to lean into as part of their healing from their emotional trauma?
A concept to lean into as part
Or like a
of.
tip?
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just want them to. I guess what I'm trying to say is I just don't want them to dwell on the past. I
Mm,
feel like, when you stay stuck in the past, what we were talking about before, like this happened to me. you don't want to stay stuck in that. So you truly do have to lean into getting whatever help you need to heal. It happened, but we got to move on from that because those things can keep us stuck,
Yeah.
and we don't keep living. Oh, I don't know why this happened to me. I don't know why this happened to me. Um, yeah, I guess I would say even one big thing, I guess, is leaning into community. I feel
Yeah.
like that's a piece because, with whatever we're dealing with, like with me, like self-care for moms, a lot of times some moms are just feeling like, oh, like, I'm the only mom out here struggling. Why? Because you're on Instagram and everybody look all happy and cheery and everything. And
That
then when you
part.
have that private conversation, it's like, oh, girl, I didn't experience that today. I had one of my friends, sometimes she'll text me certain things and I'm like, I mean, I guess we never talked about it because it just didn't come up. But oh, I experienced that. Well, I experienced
Hmm.
that today, girl. Just
Right.
because I know what to do now so that I don't stay stuck in a dark place, keep, staying down for the whole day. I still have bad days. I still have bad moments. The same ones
Right.
you have, but I don't let them beat me up. Or if I find that I am letting them beat me up, I reach out to my community, other people who I know experience the same things, can give me that encouragement that I need. If that you know, same thing. I just tell people there's a community for everything. You can find that on
Hmm.
Facebook and just type in a search for everything.
Right.
That's even like, for example, not that it's a trauma type of thing, but it could be for somebody. We're talking about natural hair. You can find a group that's talking about black moms doing natural hair. I even saw like there's a mixed race community, like white mothers or fathers are trying to figure out how to do their um
Right.
mixed child's hair, whatever. There's something for everybody, all the different kind of traumas, whether it's domestic violence or some kind of sexual abuse, grieving. Sometimes it's good to connect with other people, so you really see that, like, yeah, you're struggling and feeling like, oh, why me and stuff like that. Sometimes you just have to be with other people and just like, yeah, this just things happen like this in life sometimes, and this just happened to happen to me. But how can I heal from this, or how can I help somebody else with the situation? So I would say really lean into the community, and outside of that, just lean into anything that will allow you to heal. Rather you need to find a therapist or maybe, in faith, maybe in ministries,
Yeah.
in church. Just find that community. There's somebody out there, a group for everything, a coach. I keep telling people that there is a coach for everything.
Yes. Now
Everything.
there is.
Emotional healing,
Right.
self-care, um, everything. Grief
As they
coaching.
say, the pandemic has birthed
Yes.
a whole
Purpose. We
movement
talk
of
about purpose.
coaches.
Purpose coaching.
A
There is
whole movement of coaches. But you are so, 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 so right. Community is probably one of the biggest things that I promote, is getting around people who can pull you up out of the trenches, and who will lock arms with you and say, not on my watch. Like, not on my watch. Like, sis, you are here. I am here. And I was just sharing with a friend of mine earlier today. I said, that is the job of the enemy. The first thing he's going to do before he really gets into your mind, he has to get you alone.
Uh-huh.
Because when he gets you alone, that's when he knows he can feed you whatever he wants, and he can do it whenever he wants,
Mhm.
because you're now no longer surrounded by anybody who's going to try to tell you different, who's going to shed light into your situation, who's going to pour the word of God into you, who will pray for you, who will intercede for you, who will
Mhm.
cover you when you're in the trenches. And so that's his first thing to do, is to separate you. And so that's one of the things, like even in animal hunting, that's the first thing they try to do, is get you away from the pack.
Uh-huh.
Once they got you away from the pack and your protection and your provision, now they can pounce and they can do
Uh-huh.
what they need to do. And guess what? They even do that in community. They don't just do
Mhm.
that by themselves. Like, even they do that in a community setting. And so for you, you're right. Getting into that community, getting surrounded by people who will actually pour into you, who are invested in your healing, who really believe that your next best is right on the cusp. But
Yeah.
we understand that there's some work that you probably got to do, sis, and we're
Yeah.
here for it. We're absolutely here for it. And so that is like the premise of this entire podcast. and the Soul Care Success Series. And sis, I am just so excited that you are here on today
Yes,
to
I've been loving these conversations.
right. They just get, I'm telling you, they get juicy and juicy and gooder and gooder. I promise you. Listen, and I am here for it all. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been blessed by Dr. LaToya Wiggins. Listen, let me put up her contact information to make sure that you follow her on Instagram as She Is a Nourished Mom, or visit her website, www.sheisanourishedmom.com, to find out more information about her products, about her services, about coaching, about community. If you feel like she is the woman to be able to help you usher you into your next, develop your self-care strategies so that you are not out here feeling burnt out. You know what I'm saying? Just out here willy-nilly and trying to figure it out on your own because you absolutely don't know how to do it. And check this, community is not just this big, large group. Community is where two or three are gathered.
There you go.
Where two or three are gathered is community. So
Mhm.
she just need
Empower.
one other person. You know what I'm saying? Community, right? And so, that's really what it's all about, extending this arm, extending the community, extending the resources, because I can't certainly do it all. And, we're out here as a tribe, we're out here as a
Yeah.
community. And so there's other Black women doing such amazing and incredible work, like Dr. LaToya is doing with the She Is a Nourished Mom, and that whole platform, and pouring out the self-care strategies. So definitely, definitely, definitely be sure to connect with her on social media and follow her. She's going to bless the stage one more time, y'all. One more time, I promise you. And that's when you really get the fullness of who she is, and really getting to see what her perspective is as she comes and lay it down and teach and preach. And you know what I'm saying? Lay all the things down, right? I'm so excited. So, so, so excited for that. And so I want to just remind you of resources that were shared today. One is BetterHelp, and you can find them on the web, and they do televisits for mental health counseling as well.
Yeah.
So you can do some of these sessions virtually. It does not have to be in person. And another resource is I hope I spelled that right. Psychology Today. Yeah.
Oh,
I think I
right.
did. I think I did. I think I did. Listen. Psychology Today is also a website where you can go and filter like who you desire to work with. And that's how I found my therapist. I wanted specifically an African American woman
Mm-hmm.
who dealt with specific different things. And one of them was sexual trauma, because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I needed to heal from that because I hadn't dealt with it. I believed that because I could tell the story that I was healed. And it wasn't until I started to really see how it was impacting my relationship and my intimacy with my husband. And I was like, oh, probably need to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another site that you can go to find a therapist. I advocate for therapy despite my, not despite, but my program does promote healing and accelerated healing. But I'll tell you that by the time I got to my therapist, she was like, wow, it was just kind of like I needed to be supported in the next
Yeah.
level. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I still advocate for therapy. I don't tell you not to do that therapy. It's just I've found a way to get to the crux of what you're dealing with. And then by the time you get to therapy, or if you do it in conjunction with
Yeah.
therapy,
Yeah.
the sessions are enhanced and they're more beneficial and they're more fruitful. With that, I do want to let you know that we are still doing the Soul Care Success series, and you should absolutely go ahead and register for that. That is at bit.ly/soul-care-success. And we are live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Soul Care Success series itself. And it is, listen, we are booked, sis. We are now booked all the way through April.
Wow,
All
that's
the way through
amazing.
April. So I'm so excited. We're now booking into May for speakers to come on and just share and pour their level of expertise. And so excited. You definitely want to tune in. People will be transformed. People
Mhm.
will be unlocked. People will start to unveil the truth of who they actually are. And I couldn't be more excited for all the Black women that are attached to this, but you are about to be free, sis. Just let me come in. You know what I'm saying? Let me come in and tell you about to be free. I can't, I can't wait. So excited.
Beautiful. Who doesn't
Listen,
want to be free?
right. I said 2023 is the year of me. and adopt that, because it is time to get
Yeah.
all the things that God has for you, right? So this has been another edition of the Warrior Woman podcast. Dr. LaToya, thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for
here and
having me.
gracing the stage.
Yes.
And
Thank
so
you.
you all want to make sure to tune in next week at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday. Yes, 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 yes. To make sure that you are locking in for the podcast and that you are just getting poured into.